Break presented by Bath Fitter. Good morning, DMAC. How are you? Everybody, welcome in. Denver Sports Coffee Break presented by Bath Fitter. How are you?
Rachel, it was not a popcorn game yesterday.
It
It was
wasn't.
it was exciting,
It
but
was.
anything nerve-wracking about it, I'm feeling great.
Was it? Let's maybe change the phrase exciting though, because yes, it was a dominating performance. But towards the end of the fourth, towards the middle of the fourth, I was like, all right, let's wrap this up. Let's get the bench in there because I don't think we really need to see any more of the starters by any means. Like, let's not get anybody hurt.
Yeah, I mean you actually bring up kind of an odd cool point because there has been conversation in other leagues about target endings. So a
Mm-hmm.
target ending is there's 5 minutes left and the Nuggets were up by what, 30,
Yeah.
right? So theoretically, would that game have been better? They're up by 30. They're going to win. Is if it's the first team now to say the Nuggets were at 100 and the Wolves were at 70, first team to 107 wins, which, it'd been hard to make up. But we are talking about first world problems here, Rachel. We're talking about the boringness of the ending in the last 5 minutes of an NBA playoff game. I
Yep.
mean, these are when, you have cured every disease known to mankind and you want to centralize on this particular issue. Now, I mean, if you just want to look at an awesome, awesome performance by the Denver Nuggets, that might have been the best game they've had all year.
They did what they were supposed to do, and they were supposed to beat the Timberwolves. Now, I loved how Michael Malone's message after the game was, well, you still can't get complacent. You can't just sit around and, expect anything. And I love that because that's the truth. I feel like when teams get in trouble, it's when they are like, all right, we had a dominating performance. We've totally got this in the book. And that's when teams get in trouble. But I don't get that vibe at all from anybody on the Nuggets.
No, I don't either. And look at the game.
Yeah.
They did not shoot well in the beginning of the game. Jamal did not shoot well. Michael Porter Jr. did not shoot well. Jokic was only 6 of 12. So how did they do it? It was that they played defense, Rachel. And that's the one aspect that you were like, oh, the Nuggets can play defense. So even when they weren't shooting well, they decided, Rachel, maybe for the first time all year, to
Mm-hmm.
play 4 quarters, three and a half quarters of tough D.
Yeah.
And look what happened. I mean, it was crazy. 44 first half points, 36 second half points allowed. What was it, 14 points or something ridiculous like that in the third quarter? I mean, it was
Yeah.
outrageous.
Do you think that was the emphasis this week on practice? Because man, it sure felt like that was exactly their game plan of we're gonna play very hard defensively against the Timberwolves.
I'm out at the practice on Saturday, and before they let the Muggles in, the doors closed, but we're right outside. I mean, right outside the door. Rachel, you could feel the steam emanating from through the cracks in the door. You could hear the excitement. I'm telling you, you could feel it, you could hear it, and when it was echoed back, like, hey, we just had our third really great intense practice of the week because they practice like that also on Wednesday and Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It was easy to believe. And so it does look like the break really worked out for the Nuggets. They were 12 and 11 after the All-Star break. And Rachel, I think they were just on basic cruise control, especially after that big Grizzlies win. So now you saw a rested team. A nervous team, though. They still had jitters. They admitted that. But because they were so fresh and so wired up, and that crowd, they wore the T-shirts, Rachel. They tried doing the wave, which I'm not a big fan, but they tried doing the wave. They were into it. They were into it. And the Nuggets fed off that.
Real quick on the wave, I saw everybody hating on the crowd, watching the broadcast and everything. Rocky was actually the one who was trying to start the wave. Like he was when we were up in the press box, DMAC, he's all cool, he got to sit down low. Jake and I were up in the press box. 2 sections over to us is Rocky starting the wave, and it took him probably a solid 10 minutes to actually get it to go around the thing. But I'm like, you can't hate on the crowd. Like, that was the mascot. Don't hate on the crowd, everybody. I hate the wave too, but I just want that to be very clear. The Denver Nugget fans, yes, they did it, but it was because of their mascot. And who's going to disagree with the mascot?
Dude, Rocky came down on a wire from the roof to center court. He hit his half-court shot. I'll forgive him on the wave. Rocky was superior last night, as was the rest of the team. And because they played such tough defense, Rachel, eventually they just settled down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And those threes started falling from KCP, from Aaron Gordon. And then you had this wild combination of DeAndre Jordan and Jeff Green on the court at the same time, because always something new. Jokic fouled out, and it was bizarre. I don't think he's fouled out this entire. Not only do I not think he's fouled out this whole year, Jokic is rarely in foul trouble. And I know he's been accused of some people of not contesting shots going to the rim.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Rachel, that's kind of on purpose. If you get to a certain game, a certain situation, Jokic will probably back off because he's too valuable. It's not that he can't do it. And a couple of those calls on him were completely bogus anyways. But, I mean, whatever. Once they settled down, Jamal played better. Michael Porter Jr. got it going. DeAndre Jordan was really fun. And Michael Malone after the game said the old heads played really well. We were focused on Christian Brown and Peyton Watson. Well, what about Jeff Green and DeAndre Jordan? DeAndre Jordan, Rachel, has barely played this whole year in any kind of meaningful minutes. Seriously, I mean, the only time he plays like when Jokic is sitting out for a reason or just total garbage time. But Malone said that, DeAndre was playing well. He felt good with the flow. And he also emphasized, listen, we're going to need everybody at one point or another during this series. We'll see. We'll see what the truth of that is. But man, oh man, what a night for the Nuggets.
I know. I'm loving reading all of the comments. I'm so glad you guys are all into it too. It's such an exciting time to be a part of Denver. And Jake, let me know in the back end. The last time Jokic fouled out, can you take a guess?
I don't think it was this year.
Nope.
So maybe last year at some point. I really don't remember.
2019.
No kidding. Wow, really?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. And his shooting was just kind of okay. He was 6 of 12. It wasn't like a great night for him.
Yep.
But he's rebounding. He does others. He's just so good. Period. Listen, the only head scratching moment, the only moment of like, huh, was when Malone put Jokic back in the game up 30 with 7:46 to go.
Yep.
That was weird. So Jokic goes in and he clotheslines Anthony Edwards, just takes him out. And then he gets a little ticky-tack foul. I don't think he fouled on purpose to get out of the game, but it, kind of looked like it.
Are you sure?
I asked about it. I asked around about it after the game, and I was told, no, he wouldn't do that. Listen, I know why Malone did it, though. I do, okay?
Okay.
Because it's happened before this year. There are plenty of games where there are blowouts, and Malone just benches everybody, okay? Fine.
Yep.
But there have also been a handful of games this year, Rachel, with big leads where he wants to send a message to his team about how to finish a game or play a game from scratch. They were up 31, and Malone was like waving his guys with the ball to push the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like Malone has kind of this Zen mentality of how to play without looking at the scoreboard. Like there's just a right way to play.
Yeah.
And it's a bit weird. And like I said, it's a bit zen. And I don't think the players get it. Seriously. I mean, I don't really get it. But it makes sense to Michael Malone. So what we saw, although it didn't make a whole lot of sense, it's not like Malone hasn't done that before this year. He has. I didn't like it, though, because I think Jokic was just done. I think they were all done. You didn't need anybody with 7 minutes to go. Rachel, they were up by 31.
Yep.
The Wolves didn't score more than 23 points in a quarter last night. So you're probably pretty good with 7 minutes to go, up 31.
Are you ready for this? Actually, this is kind of funny. So Jake and I were up in the press box, we're talking, and I don't remember who. I want to say it was MPJ. He just hit a 3, and I looked at Jake and I said, "That's the dagger." And Jake, during the press conference yesterday, came up to me and he was like, Rachel, remember that play when we said that's the dagger? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that was actually the dagger because they had 81 points in that moment. Even if they hadn't scored another point in the game, they still would have won. Like, that shows you just the defensive battle that they had and that they put on. And that's really what won them the game. It was nothing else, it was just their defense.
Yeah, their defense was extraordinary. The
Yep.
Wolves were terrible. They are not a good team. They're not a balanced team. Karl Anthony Towns looked pathetic. Rudy Gobert was minus 28. Jokic is, and then Gobert, elbows him. Should have been an offensive foul. Doesn't get called. Gobert got one good block on Jokic, but I mean that's it. And Tim Connolly, the ex-Nuggets GM, who's now running the show in Minnesota, gave up the world, like multiple first-round picks and all sorts of stuff for Rudy Gobert, and that is just not an answer against Nikola Jokic. It's not. And if the Nuggets want to bully you and push you around, you've got DeAndre Jordan. Really, seriously. For 5.5 minutes, he'll, get a couple of alley-oop dunks, and he'll just get in your way. He's a big dude, and he's willing to make that sort of sacrifice and effort. You just don't kind of need that during the regular season, Rachel. You really don't. It's played differently. But a player like DeAndre Jordan, all of a sudden, you can see what his value really is. They thought it was going to be Thomas Bryant and maybe Zeke Naji. But Thomas Bryant has been such a bust. I mean, I doubt he gets off the bench at all. I think Zeke will play based off the matchups a little bit. But don't be surprised at all if you see 5 or 6 minutes from DeAndre Jordan the rest of this series.
Well, we know there's one person on our staff who's always critical of the Denver Nuggets, and that has been James Merilatt. He's gone through some heartbreaks as a Nuggets fan, so we let him live it out. But James Merilatt, is there anything negative you can say about the performance of the Denver Nuggets yesterday? And good morning to you. Oh, you might be muted, my friend.
Oh, wow. Can't hear him. Uh-oh.
Hold on, James. We'll bring you back in just a second.
Michael Malone has finally won against James Merilatt. He's figured the only way to
happen very often. Okay, yep. We'll try and get James to come back in here in just a second. Technology, again, it never seems to fail. If he's got AirPods in, I would just say refresh your computer, James Merilatt. What an intro for James from Rachel. LOL. Yeah. Well, James is always critical, but I will say James has some of the most level-headed takes, I think, when it comes. Like, sometimes I think we can all get a little emotional when it comes to sports. And James really does have a lot of, like, level-headed stuff. If you're just looking at the very basics from a basketball, like, level of IQ, like, I know he gets on people, but sometimes I think emotion plays in for people, and they're like, oh my gosh, no. Like, no one's going to beat the Denver Nuggets. And that's not always the case either, D-Mac.
Yeah, no, I think it's an amazing team that we saw perform at their absolute highest level. And you've got to give credit to Michael Malone for preparing his team the right way. And certainly the message after the game was, we haven't done anything yet. Props to our opponent. We're just, don't get too high, don't get too low. He gave the defensive player of the game chain to the whole team. And afterwards, in a really cool symbolic moment, he actually put it around Colin Gillespie, who's been on the team all year in a virtual redshirt year. But that's how deep this team goes, that they feel connected to a guy who really just practiced with them all year. And that's what he still means to that team. That's how deep the emotions go in sort of the tight-knit family atmosphere that is the Nuggets. I'm telling you, Rachel, Nikola got a haircut. The team practiced hard. They had 2 team dinners where they watched the play-in games that they were bonded together. This was just a fabulous week for the Denver Nuggets, top to bottom. And the only thing that was a little negative, I suppose, was an 8:51 tip time. Oh, my God. 8:51, which is wild. I'm not sure how people were hanging in there for that last night. It's not quite as bad for game 2, but wowza, that was rough.
Yeah, I'm sleepy this morning, D-Mac. I don't know about you. I got home around 1 9 a.m. this morning, and getting up at 7:45, 8 o'clock was a little tough for me because you can't, we've talked about this so many times, you can't just go home and go to bed. Like, you have to decompress a little bit. Like, it's so exciting, the music is so loud, the energy is so like hyped up, and even though when you're sitting in the press room and everything, your energy slowly starts to go, but you got time to like decompress. And I know Nuggets fans even felt that. I've been reading the comments all morning. People are like, "Oh my gosh, it was so much fun, but I'm still tired this morning."
Yeah, and take a breath today, because after today, Avs Tuesday, Nuggets Wednesday, Avs Thursday, Nuggets Friday, Avs Saturday, Nuggets Sunday,
Yep.
Avs Monday. Wow. I mean, we are going to, after a slight pause today, have 7 straight nights of Avs Nuggets, Avs Nuggets, Avs Nuggets, Avs Nuggets. And I mean, we'll see where those series go, but that's just talking about the first 4 games for both teams. I see James is back, so hopefully we can hear him.
Can you hear me now?
We gotcha. Good morning. Happy Monday.
Good morning. I didn't do anything different. No setting different in how they work. I have no idea.
Michael Malone gotcha.
Yep.
Trying to figure out how to shut you up, James.
I came out, with all this positivity, and you guys couldn't hear me. I don't have anything negative to say about last night. They played that was as good a defensive effort as I've seen from the Nuggets. And look, we were all kind of wondering how they would respond after a couple of weeks of going through the motions at the end of the season, a week off. Like, are they going to be ready? Are they going to answer the bell? Michael Malone had his team ready to go. So kudos to him for game 1. Game 2 is a bigger challenge, but kudos to Michael Malone for game 1. That was a very impressive performance that we all went, phew, okay, the January Nuggets are back.
That was going to be my point. Did it erase all the negative energy that was the past couple of weeks with the Denver Nuggets? Did that blowout win just say, okay, you know what, everything else, it just disappears? The win or the loss against the Rockets, gone. We don't care. We're all just moving on at this point.
Yes. Yes, actually, yes. It just like that. They did it. I mean, that now you go from your last game, and your last game was your best defensive performance of the year. Your last game is, even though you started slow shooting the 3, you caught fire. Your last game was Christian Brown getting into it, and pumping everybody up, fighting for it. I mean, yeah, yes, and yes. And I'll tell you what's great. The jitters will. I did ask Michael Porter Jr. after the game, like, once you play a playoff game, do the rest just feel like games? And he actually said no. He said there's always a sense of excitement with playoff games because the things change as the series goes on. So it's never like just a regular game. However, I'm going to say the jitters that Jamal Murray admitted to after not playing a playoff game for over like 930 days, for not playing a home playoff game for over 1,400 days, I do think that will dissipate. I think he had to go through that. Same for Michael Porter Jr. And what was great is they had teammates like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Aaron Gordon, even though he got in some foul trouble. And he had Christian Brown. And, when in doubt, guys, here's what Jamal said, which I agree. If you're not feeling the game, scoring-wise, just play defense. Play hard. Get yourself involved another way. And Michael Porter Jr. admitted, listen, if you get an easy bucket like that incredible one-hand jam, it just sort of like gets you into the flow of the games. So there's a buy-in. This team isn't just bombing from the outside recklessly. If it's not working out, they'll switch to plan B. And then they can get back to plan A. And that's exactly what happened last night.
Yeah, it does erase the way the season ended. Look, we won't think about any of those games again until they get to the NBA Finals and don't have home court. We can cross that bridge when we get to it, right? Because they won't matter again. It doesn't matter in this series. Not going to matter in the next 2. So until we get to that point, which would be a good problem to have, there's nothing to worry about. Houston is a distant memory.
Forget it. It's just that there's no promise that it's going to go that way. That's all. And we saw some really interesting, exciting first game, round 1, game 1s in the NBA. Some really, cool stuff. That was the biggest beatdown of the entire first game, first series. I know everybody is it's like it didn't exist again, even though it was on national TV because of the ridiculous starting time that even Charles Barkley was complaining about. But again, so what? That crowd, that atmosphere, guys, that was amazing to be inside that building last night for that game.
That was as good as I've seen a Nuggets crowd. They actually wore their T-shirts. It wasn't filled with a bunch of visiting fans, right? I mean, when they played the Suns a couple of years ago, it was half Suns fans, it felt like. So that was good. Kudos to the Nuggets fans. That was great. Guys, I think everybody's taking this, this too lightly, though. Like, Game 2 makes me nervous. Game 2 is the pivotal game of every series because that's when the other team has their counter. That's when they make their adjustments, and you got to figure out how to counter their counter. So, I'm nervous about Wednesday night, but last night was a heck of a way to start it. I'm not trying to rain on the parade, but if they win on Wednesday, the series is over. If they lose, they're in for a dogfight.
I'm not exactly sure how it works in the NBA, but do the Avalanche just do the Nuggets a favor because they would need the building at some point to start the Stanley Cup playoffs? Yeah. And I know that begins tonight. So do the Avs have to start on Tuesday? I'm guessing they did, and I'm guessing you get an extra 2 days to sort of recover. And by the way, I don't think that works to the advantage of the Wolves. I think that works to the advantage of the Nuggets. I mean, that is like a whole extra day of Minnesota just sitting around Denver having to figure out what's going on here. I think it's fantastic for the Avs to get or for the Nuggets rather to get a couple days before the game.
Yeah, I think the makeup game in Nashville actually helped the Nuggets, believe it or not, because they had to give the Avs the full rest that every other NHL team had, so they couldn't start till Tuesday. That pushed Game 2 for the Nuggets back to Wednesday. Kind of a weird scheduling quirk.
Thanks, Predators.
Jake just sent us, we played a lot of games. They had a lot of rest, so it was only right they came out with a lot of energy. That was Wolves' leading scorer at 18 points. Anthony Edwards saying, we'll get our energy.
Okay. I don't know where. I don't know how. I don't know what energy is going to make Rudy Gobert able to, effectively play defense against Jokic. What energy is going to make Karl Anthony Towns able to shoot a basketball? I have no idea. Here's the truth, man. They do not have answers for the Nuggets. Forget about what the Nuggets have to do. What are their answers against Denver?
Well, and here's the other point to this. You can find your energy, that's great, but it's not like Jokic went out and put 40 on him last night either. And we all know he's very capable of doing that. So what's going to be your answer when Jokic finally, shows up and has his typical triple-double night that we've all seen so many times?
Yeah, the Nuggets didn't play all that well offensively last night. They really didn't. I mean, they won it on the defensive end, so I expect them to be better. Mm-hmm. That's the one end of the court where they certainly had some rust, and early it was apparent. They'll be better shooting the basketball, I would think, on Wednesday. If they play the way they can play on that end, the Timberwolves are in a whole lot of trouble. But they didn't have any energy last night. They didn't. Karl Anthony Towns' body language was horrendous. They'll be a different team personality-wise, mentally, however you want to put it on Wednesday. They'll give it their best. They'll bring the Nuggets. They'll give the Nuggets their best shot because they know it's the series. They're done if they fall down 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally agree. Now, why did Malone put Jokic back in the game with 7:46 to go, up 30?
I have no idea. Brain lock. I heard you talking earlier about he's trying to send a message and he's this and stuff. Like, if he's trying to send a message in Game 1 of a playoff series, that is one of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard. I don't know why he put him back in. It
wasn't Jokic. Just
I know.
Jokic. He put all the starters back in.
I know. Jamal Murray's out there, and every time Jamal had the ball, I'm just like, oh my god. Like, I'm a fatalistic Nuggets fan. What would be more Nuggets than a star getting hurt with a 30-point lead in the fourth? I mean, he just likes to tempt the basketball gods.
Okay, did Jokic purposely try and foul out, James?
Yeah.
I think so, too.
Yeah. He's like, why am I out here?
Guys, I don't think he did not try to foul out. I don't think he tried to foul out, but I don't think he didn't not try. Does that make sense?
Well, the fifth foul was certainly him just trying to take a foul. That one was ridiculous. But
How funny was it, too? Up 30 points on his sixth foul. Malone challenges the foul. It's like, why? I mean, he hasn't fouled out. Great research by Jake Shapiro. Jokic hadn't fouled out since 2019, and you're challenging his sixth foul up by why? Do you get fined or something? Is there some sort of other penalty for fouling out of games? I mean, I'm sitting there like, Michael, we love you, buddy. You did a great job. You're losing your brains here. Like, and if you want a teeny, tiny red flag, it would be that. It would be like, okay, we're pressing just a little bit, too hard where we don't need to. I understand trying to protect your player. And you know what? This is bad on the Muggles, man. I'll throw a flag on myself and the rest of the media. Nobody asked Malone about that whole series about Jokic after the game. Nobody did. Yeah. And, I feel bad about it. And if I have a chance tomorrow or whenever they will talk to him, if he doesn't respond to it, I'll ask him about it. I should have asked him about it last night. I think I know why he did it because he's done it previously. But still, that's why you ask questions. You got to get some sort of response as to why you actually did it. So it's a small red flag, a teeny, tiny red flag. The talent of the Nuggets is what we should all be celebrating today because you can see how good they really are when they put their minds to it.
Well, and we all knew, right, that Bruce Brown and KCP were huge upgrades over Austin Rivers and Facu Campazzo and some of the guys they tried to win with last year. But, man, it just was readily apparent last night. I mean, it's just a totally different team than we've seen in the playoffs the last 2 years. And we get it. They hadn't had Jamal either those years. Last year they didn't have MPJ either. When they got swept by the Suns 2 years ago, MPJ wasn't himself. He was hurt. But it was just refreshing of like, okay, they're here. They've got to this point. They're healthy. Let's see what we really have. And so to tempt fate at all was just not smart. But, hey, they survived it. It was only for a couple of minutes. TNT did ask Jokic about it after the game. Yeah. And he just said, you're asking the wrong guy.
Because Jokic is not a Zen guy like that. He's not. He is a business-like, black or white, this or that sort of guy. Jokic is a very functional player, not a very overly emotional or sort of broad, deep thinking sort of guy, even though his knowledge of basketball is superior to everybody. But Jokic doesn't think of the meditative values of anything. He thinks about what do we do to answer a problem, and here's how we do. I think Jokic looks at basketball like a math equation. So when 2 + 2 = 7, that doesn't make any sense. That's a metaphysical world that Jokic doesn't exist in or think like, but sometimes Malone does.
I guess I'm missing the Zen thing. Like, I look at Michael Malone and he's the opposite of Zen to me. He doesn't seem like a deep thinker. He's paint by numbers. And his plan was that's who's going to be in the game with 6 minutes left. So that's who was in the game with 6 minutes left. He didn't bother to look up at the scoreboard and go, oh, we're up 31. Maybe I should change on the fly.
You don't think he knew what the score was?
He didn't know Aaron Gordon had sat on the bench for a game a month ago. He didn't know that Michael Porter Jr. sat out 16-16. I just think he has brain lock. I think he's paint by numbers, and that's who was supposed to be in, and that's who was going to be in. And it took the Minnesota coach, it took Chris Finch pulling his starters before he's finally like, who the hell are these guys we're playing against? Oh, it's garbage time. I guess I'll put in my scrubs.
I give him more credit than that. There's been plenty of games where he has not played the starters when they're up big in the fourth quarter, but there's been times that he has, and he's talked about it in the past. Listen, we screwed up by not asking about it afterwards, but to think that Malone simply forgot what the score is
oh my God. So you think he's sitting on that super high padded chair, just finding his chi?
Basically, he's got his own of how things should go. I mean, he's talked about it extensively. He didn't forget the score, James. You can disagree with the strategy, but to say there wasn't a strategy at all and that he's just dumb? I mean, that's ridiculous. That's just not true.
But
okay, so we're just making up some metaphysical thing from, like, we've never heard a single Zen thing from Michael Malone. It's not like anybody's ever called him Phil Jackson 2.0. He's the second coming of the Zen master. He's the scrappy kid from Brooklyn. That's what he is. He's not a Zen master.
He has talked about this. Listen, this really stood out earlier in the year. It was back-to-back games. I forget who the opponents were, but it was home back-to-back games. And they were up by like 25 in one game. None of the vets played. None of the starters played. 2 nights later, same exact situation. He put everybody back in. And he did speak about wanting to play the right way all the time, having some sort of mindset, Zen, that don't look at the scoreboard, be unto yourself.
Yeah, well, he wanted to win every quarter last night. That was very important to him.
It's stuff like that, James. Listen, you can disagree with it, fine, but to just not accept it is just, I mean, listen, man.
No, every time I make a mistake in life, I'm just going to say, hey, man, I'm just being Zen. I'm just being Zen. It's a catch-all.
This is exactly what I needed for my Monday morning. Although I will say Saturday I went snowboarding and I absolutely ate it and my phone went straight into my ribs and I am having the hardest time. I'm in so much pain from laughing at both of you.
Rachel's the Aaron Gordon of coffee break.
Yeah.
I'm in so much pain and I keep laughing, but it's so funny. I love this Zen debate. I'll be zenful today. I'll pull out my popcorn too. They didn't have popcorn for me last night, which was a huge bummer, but I'm hoping that the Avs will have popcorn for us tomorrow night, DMAC, because of course they're going to be taking on the Seattle Kraken. First time for the Kraken entering into the playoffs. What are you both expecting out of the Avalanche? Because of course their season essentially came down to the very last game of trying to win the Central, and they were able to accomplish it. So are you expecting Nathan MacKinnon and the team to come out real strong, real fast? Or what are you expecting to see tomorrow night, James?
Yeah, I think they'll come out and take care of business. I don't think they're going to overlook the Kraken and think, hey, this is a second-year team and we can just cruise through this. Once you've been through the gauntlet of a playoff run, you realize how important it is to get off to a hot start, have the lead, have them chasing you. And this ties back into the Nuggets with this whole Game 2 thing. If you think back to last year's playoff run, when the Avs had somebody hang in there with them or give them fits in Game 2, it's like, okay, we got ourselves a series. When it was Edmonton, and after an 8-6 win for the Avs in Game 1, and in Game 2 they panicked and Evander Kane's throwing haymakers 3 minutes in, you knew that series was over. It was toast. So I think they'll come out tomorrow night, take care of business. I do think Game 3 up in Seattle, first ever home playoff game for them, will be a madhouse. That's a little bit of a buzzsaw. But I expect this to be a gentleman's sweep.
I was on with our sister station, Mike Salk and Brock Heward in Seattle today, and my question to them is, does the fan base even know anything about hockey? But that's a valid question, and I was asked, well, what was it like when the Nordiques came years and years ago to Colorado? And I said, well, that's a fair point, even though Colorado did have NHL hockey with Don Cherry in the 70s and all that sort of stuff, but it had been a long time. And so when you get a team that all of a sudden is really successful right off the bat, I'm telling you, it is really exciting for the community. I don't think they know anything about hockey, and I don't think they really care. I think they're going to be happy to be there. And because they're going to be happy to be there, I think at the end of the day, that's going to be, the quickest path for the Avs to get through. Now, listen, in hockey, you can outshoot your opponent 45-17. And if he stands on his head, fine. I mean, our guy, Alexander Georgiev, allowed 3 goals and 7 shots to the Predators, which kept that game interesting, last week. But I was around the Avalanche yesterday at Family Sports. I got to give you this, James. And I do have warm feelings for Family Sports because my kid played hockey there for years and years and years. I mean, it's an utter embarrassment that they play there and practice there. I mean, it's just flat out, like, ridiculous. So I get there on the ice that the Avs are going to be on is like a men's league practice. On the other sheet of ice is like a bantam with like 14-year-old hockey over there. And I'm like, and then we're doing a press conference with Chris McFarland. I think there was a birthday party outside of the room that we were in. And it's just like, okay, all right, this is dumb. This is not the way things should be. and then you get in that teeny time. I mean, you want to see a bad locker room. Go see where the Avs use for a locker room at Family Sports. I swear to God, guys, you would not believe it. And inside this tiny, cramped little space, you do see that there's an uncomfortableness in the facility that I think does kind of motivate these guys. The one thing about the Avalanche guys, they are not ever comfortable. The facilities aren't comfortable. Nathan McKinnon makes things uncomfortable. Nothing's really comfortable for the Avs. And so there's a desire and a rawness with them that is kind of unmatched. I hear Seattle's got a fabulous facility. The town is gaga. I think they're just going to be happy to be there. I think the Avs are going to destroy the Kraken. I mean, maybe there's a game that Grubauer plays great. But overall, guys, look out for this Avalanche team who is finally as healthy as they've been all year, aside from Landeskog. Cogliano was out there. Mulligan was out there. I talked to Josh Manson. He's good to go. Guys, this is the healthiest they've been all year going into this game tomorrow night.
So it'd be like the Nuggets having shoot around at the Papa Shot at Dave & Buster's. Like, come on. It is an embarrassment. You argued with me on this for a long time, D-Mac.
Well,
you came around.
By the way, the Nuggets facility is not much different than what you just described. In all fairness,
it's not that much better, but at least it's at the building. I mean, at least it's their own. They don't share it with the Little League and the Beer League.
It's embarrassing, but it does set this tone of uncomfortableness and rawness, and I think especially led by Nathan McKinnon, aggressiveness that it keeps you on edge. I'll tell you that. It keeps you on edge. I mean, you're not comfortable, and to face a healthy, on edge, aggressive Avalanche team who got exactly who they wanted in the first round. Look out, Kraken. Look out.
I know. Going down there, you would never believe that a Stanley Cup championship team would be the one that was going to be playing there and taking the ice. The only thing I will say, and this is the one small pro to it, is that anybody can go watch them. Like, if you're a kid wanting to get into hockey, like, that is so freaking cool that you can go see Nathan McKinnon out there and go skate. Like, I can just imagine my parents taking me down there when I was a kid if I was into hockey and being like, look how these players do things. Look at their footwork. Look at their speed, etc. That's the only pro to the facilities that they have. That's the only thing.
What they should really have is a multi-use facility for hockey and basketball across the street, probably there at Elitch's, that the public can use. Like, there's nothing wrong with having public usage in a facility. The Broncos rent out their field house, guys. You can have your prom or your wedding at the field house if you wanted to. So there's nothing wrong with keeping a nice facility in use and keep it for the public. I'm saying it could be better. And they really should, if they tear down Elitch's, build the next facility that would be multi-use, especially for the neighborhoods of the city of Denver. Get kids playing basketball, get kids playing hockey, have your own organizations in basketball and hockey, and have a fantastic facility for both teams. I mean, yeah, okay, that's millions and millions of dollars, but so what? You can't take it with you, Stan. Like, I mean, just build it and have everybody come to the facility. So I'm not saying you're wrong at all, Rachel. I love that fact. There were a lot of people yesterday just watching the Avs. The Avs haven't practiced today. It's inside Ball Arena. You can't watch it unless you're in a crunch, you're a media slog like myself. So that sucks. Seeing them practice is kind of awesome. But anyways, we're getting off track. The important thing is that they're in great shape. They're good to go. And the only thing, and we'll find out, I'll be down there in a little bit, we're just like this about Cale Makar. Just a little bit. Just a little bit about Cale Makar. Hopefully we see him practice today, and it'll be okay, all good.
Yep. Real quick, so obviously Kraken versus Avalanche. Colorado in 4 is plus 550. Colorado in 5 is plus 325. Colorado in 6 is plus 325. Or Colorado in 7 is plus 425. How are you feeling about all of those, James Marilat? Which one would you roll with?
The fact that the sweep is such good value is tempting. I just do think that building's going to be jumping in Seattle. When I was up there, I took my son up to a Seahawks game, not last season, but the season before. And when you walk along, like there's all the shops along the waterfront, you couldn't find Seahawks gear. You couldn't. It was all Kraken, just everywhere. They've gone. Gaga was the word DMAC used. He hit the nail on the head. So I don't think they're going to sweep them. I'll go the gentleman sweep. I'll take them in 5. A little less value, but I'll go that way.
I'll take the Avs in 5 as well. Last year against the Predators, they had an overtime game against the Predators, okay? The Predators, that was weird. You guys remember that? When their Saturday afternoon game, like half the arena was filled because there were traffic issues getting to Bridgestone? That was weird. That is not going to be the case in Seattle. The one thing that people in Seattle do, they know how to hop on a bandwagon, whether it's soccer or football or basketball or, I don't know, men's field hockey or badminton or, it's Seattle, dude. Like, they just get into things. And I think Philip Grubauer at some point will have a great game. And it kind of, it just tends to happen in the NHL playoffs. But 5, listen, I wouldn't be surprised. That is a good value. I put a low amount on that. I put more, to say they're going to win in 5.
It's why the home ice was so important. Like, the Mike Evanses of the world saying, it doesn't matter. This team was great on the road. Like, they went into Nashville last year for game 3, and people were like, there's no way we're beating this team 4 out of 5 games. I'm going to go out to Lower Broadway and listen to some music. But if game 1 had been in Nashville, that place would have been jumping. So,
but I'll tell you, though, guys, and it is significant. It is so loud in Ball Arena for a basketball game. And it's always like that. And you can feel that energy all the time. In hockey, it's just different. They do not play the music during the game. The ice is got kind of a weird echo sort of sound effect, so you can't really feel it. Guys, I'm telling you, it's just different in hockey than it is in any other sport. And that makes hockey really amazing. That's why you see so many incredible upsets in the Stanley Cup playoffs, because home ice just doesn't mean as much. I'm not saying it doesn't have a factor, because it's much more comfortable to start at home, be in your own bed, be comfortable in your surroundings. But in terms of the playing surface and all that, in hockey, it doesn't even close to matter as much. And the Avalanche did prove that. That being said, James, the way Mike Evans has been dismissive of the Avalanche this whole season is perplexing. It's as if they didn't do anything. They had so many man games lost. Jared Bednar should certainly be up for the Adams Award. He won't win it because of what happened in Boston, but he should at least be a finalist. It was a superior coaching job. And, I know I'm going to have an article coming out later about Chris McFarland, the GM at denversports.com. A masterful job by keeping this organization going down the tracks the right way. But just to say, like Mike does, oh, yeah, they were always going to do that. Don't even pay attention. Now we can finally watch. Give me a break. You're discounting unbelievable coaching, hard work, buy-in by the players, coaches, and personnel. Don't dismiss what the Avalanche have done to get back there.
You both are going 5, and I'm with you, but here's an interesting stat when it comes to the Kraken. So Colorado holds a 29-11-1 record on the road. Seattle holds a 26-11-4 record on the home. We talk all the time about how good the Avalanche are on the road. Could the Kraken possibly steal one here at Ball Arena that could end up forcing this to possibly a Game 6? They're clearly good on the road.
Well, the answer is yes, because the road environment does not have the same impact, and a goalie can stand on their head, okay? So the answer to your question, Rachel, is absolutely yes. And that's what's exciting about the Stanley Cup playoffs most of the time. But James has a good point, too. I got to give you something, James. Once you're down 3-0, the writing's on the wall. And you could feel that last year with the Predators once they were down 3-0. It was – I was like, wow, they've given up. They have given up. And the Oilers, frankly, weren't much different. So it's a fair point.
Well, you'll see it. You'll see it in Minnesota with the Nuggets and the Timberwolves if Denver's up 2-0. There's fans aren't dumb. They can look at it and go, "We ain't beating those guys 4 out of 5 times." Right. The same thing we did last year with the Warriors and the year before with the Suns. It's like, hey, you're not beating Steph and Clay and Draymond 4 out of 5 games. So once you were down 0-2, that thing was over.
Yeah, don't forget what Malone said last year after they did beat Golden State in one game. At least we didn't get swept, which was like, okay.
It was very zen.
James, why are you doing this to me? Okay. You guys, I'm serious though. My rib hurts so bad. Every single time I laugh, I'm like, oh my gosh. We're gonna have lots more Avalanche talk tomorrow, though, for sure, of course, as we get ready for tomorrow night down at Ball Arena. So definitely stay tuned for it. But let's talk a little bit about the Broncos because a name is popping up that a lot of people are like, hey, could we pair this guy with Justin Simmons? And that's Buda Baker as he request a trade from the Cardinals. So could Vance Joseph possibly hook back up with his safety and bring him out here to Denver? He wants to be the highest paid safety. My answer is no, but I'm open to anybody's opinions on this matter, James Marilat.
I heard Mark Schlereth talking about it this morning, and he's called a lot of Cardinals games and just was talking about Buda Baker in terms of, the pre-production meetings and then just watch them on the field. And Mike Evans asked him, hey, would you trade Justin Simmons up for him straight up? And he answered the question before the question got out of his mouth. Like, yeah, without a doubt, unequivocally. So, hey, if you can get Buda Baker in here, sign me up. And, Mark Schlereth knows a lot more about football than I do. And if he's got that kind of a rave review for a guy, okay, that's good enough for me. Could you have them both? That's a little bit of an embarrassment of riches. That's a lot of money tied up in that position.
Yep.
It would depend on the deal. Hey, if they want to take Cortland Sutton off your hands, maybe. But if you can figure out a way to get that done, I'm of the belief with the Walton Penner family ownership group, money is no object. Yeah. It shouldn't be. So, yeah, if that improves your team, make it happen.
Yeah, Mark, actually, this news came out on Friday while we were on the air on the drive, and Mark was quick to text into me and share similar sentiment that he talked about and you heard. So, again, yeah, all right, Stink, I'll take your word for it. The crazy thing is, like with Justin Simmons, you just don't need to pay somebody as much as you're paying Simmons to actually play that position effectively. But Justin Simmons plays it as good as anybody. So you get in this really weird world that he deserves the money he's getting because he's one of the top guys doing it. But how much have I talked about relative value? And the relative value of a center fielder safety, that free safety in the back. I mean, come on, guys. What are we talking about? You can't have somebody who stinks back there, but that is way down the list. So you really don't want to be caught up spending that much money. Although, again, Justin's one of the best, and he certainly played like that last year. But that's like me being the best baseball player on my 30-plus-year-old baseball team. If I'm your best player, we got problems. If your free safety is your best player, you got issues. If you need that guy to save games for you, you're in trouble. Buda Baker is a game changer. He's in the box safety. He's, the best of like a Brian Dawkins sort of guy that really makes things happen. I don't know why the Cardinals would trade him because they really don't play the same position. So it wouldn't be just swapping out one safety for another. And I don't know what their needs are for what the position Justin Simmons does. Money-wise, you're right. Cortland Sutton for Buda Baker is like an even swap. But how do you get the Cardinals to exchange a game record for the fourth best, receiver on your team? I don't know how you do it. So I think it would be great. I just don't know how you get there. But it won't be because of money. That's for sure. Props to the Walter Penner Group, all right? It's not about money with these people, all right? Which is cool. I don't know where their long-term commitment is, but I don't really care. They're going to spend a lot of money for however long they own the team. They're not going to skimp. So if you can do it, do it. I just don't know how you do it.
It's definitely a tough call. Have you also, both of you, seen the video board that they're building on Empower Field? It is.
I was down there yesterday, Rachel. I was shooting this little video for something else. It's a mass. I mean, it looks like one thing when you're just driving down I-25, but when you just park right next to it, it's unbelievable what's going on there. It is, man, is what they're doing.
When I first saw it, and it's like more than double the height that it used to be. It's like, how is that not going to be a distraction? Like, that was what went through my head of like, if I'm at the game watching, I don't know that I could ignore it. And if I'm on the field heading, we're driving to the south end zone trying to get in the end zone, I don't know how I'm ignoring the big, huge video board. It's impressive.
I'll tell you this. When you see how high it's going to go and you see how it's constructed, it's not a stretch to envision some sort of covering. And I'm not saying maybe complete indoors, but some sort of thing that stretches across the field or covers it somehow. I mean, you kind of get it when you're up close and you see it. You're like, well, okay, that makes sense because, guys, it's as high as the opposing stands on the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, it is mammoth what's going on there. So I do think the Walton Penner Group is giving themselves some flexibility to do a bunch of different things, okay? I think they're thinking about, well, and I know for a fact, Rachel, you were there when we talked to somebody with the Broncos who said they've had designs on how to do it. So there's a concept in place, and it's a lot easier to picture when you see this construction. But just let me know when we're going to get to Russ in the golf cart, because I'm ready to fire on that.
Okay, we'll quickly hit on it. Russell Wilson apparently had flipped a golf cart down at Arrowhead Golf Course, right down the road from me, not very far. Interesting. I don't play golf, so I can't really talk to it of like how you can possibly do that if you just go off like a bunker and go do whatever. But Russell Wilson did indeed flip a golf cart. So
Warren, he finished off another drive at Arrowhead with a turnover.
Oh my God.
No.
I got to give credit to Mike and Mark and a texter. Said it this morning. I'm giving credit where credit's due. But great joke. He finished a drive at Arrowhead with a turnover.
Oh my God.
In all honesty,
flat out great, clean sports Russell Wilson joke. The end. Period. Stop the presses. That's a great joke.
Yeah, that's like a really good dad joke. Actually, that's very well done.
Really good.
Seriously though, guys, he's lucky to escape injury on this thing. Like if you're driving along and you don't see a bunker and you drive off into it and roll your golf cart, like it's not like you're seatbelted in. It's not like there's doors and stuff. Like easily could have fallen on. I mean, he could have gotten really injured. So that's a bullet dodge. I mean, that would have been just the ultimate kick in the teeth.
Hold on. Do we know he's okay?
Well, according to reports, he was fine.
What reports are those? Like, listen.
The same report that he rolled his golf cart, our guy Matt Smith was all over it.
No, I get it, but who was the doctor that Matt talked to? I think Matt did a story. But listen, I assume he's okay, but do we know that? Seriously? I don't think we actually do. We know it happened, but we don't know if he's really, he's not dead, of course, but we're sure. We're sure there's no problems.
I don't know. I haven't talked to the coroner. We don't know.
Because you don't need to, because he's not dead. I said he's not dead. But I hope he's okay. I think that's a more fair thing to say, that he appeared okay afterwards, because I think that was the actual report. But guys, I agree with James. I know it's funny, but that's a scary moment. And there have been a lot of crazy injuries over the years with people in golf carts. I got to admit, though, how the hell did that happen? I mean, like, I have been, all right, I might have gone a little quick around a corner once or twice, but I don't think I've ever in my life, guys, got that close to flipping a golf cart at a bunker. I mean, it's a bunker. What are you doing? First of all, you drive up on the green. Second of all, don't you just keep the golf cart on the golf path and walk over the bunker? I mean, seriously, what the hell did happen there?
It's actually a good question. In my head, I just thought like he was driving and just didn't see it, and so he just kind of like tipped it. But you guys are making it seem like he like full on like rolled his.
Are you quarterback of the Broncos is so blind he didn't see a bunker?
Well, KJ Hamler would say so.
Wow, that's dad jokes just keep coming. I mean,
and they're in the comments too. Everybody's saying it's a sign to ditch let's ride, turn it into let's roll. Okay. I get it, everybody. James Merriman.
How about let's use a push cart?
Yeah, walk the course, Russ. Get some steps in.
Yeah. Hey, time out. What are we doing here with a cart, Russ?
Yeah.
Wait. Hold on, time out. We're doing high knees on a plane, but we're taking a golf cart at Arrowhead? Listen, let me tell you, I've played at Arrowhead. Hilly spot. You could get a lot of work in going up and down. And that on the back there was at 13, that huge drop. That is where you could get some cardio. You can go get some hills in. I mean, that is a perfect course to get work in. Why do you even have a golf cart?
Before I heard this story, Russ would have struck me as that guy who runs from one shot to the next. He grabs
Exactly.
his club and runs to the ball.
Yeah, he plays.
What are we doing?
Clubs. He's got like a 3-wood, a 7-iron, and a putter, and he just, that's it. Here we go.
All right. Well, it's the off season. Give him a break. Let him get in the golf cart. James Marilat, an absolute pleasure having you on today. Thank you for the laughs and making my rib hurt. We will talk to you later.
All right. See you guys.
All right, James Marilat right there. We go in the headlines because, of course, the big news coming out of the NFL is Jalen Hurts has signed a new contract extension, a big one too, $255 million for 5 years. D-Mac, give me your opinion on Jalen Hurts, and should Lamar Jackson be pissed off?
Good questions. Awesome for Jalen Hurts. Yep. I think this guy, character-wise, person-wise, football-wise, is just everything you admire in all of those departments. And great for the Eagles to make a full commitment to their future. Fantastic. Way to go. Mike Evans should have a poster of second-round draft pick Jalen Hurts on his ceiling. So way to go. Should Lamar be ticked off? Well, yeah, of course. Definitely. No doubt about it. I think there's some collusion, not some, I think there's collusion going on in the NFL with the owners. I think they are doing their best to sort of stop a deal like this, actually, Rachel. Yeah. And so the Eagles just proved, Jeff Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, just proved up yours. I'll do whatever I want and set the bar high. You know what? Maybe Lamar's not upset. Maybe this deal actually helps loosen things up a little bit to show, hey, it's not just the Browns. The Eagles are going to do it too. So you want to stay competitive. Hey, it's the price of doing business. So maybe he'll be fine with it. He might be frustrated that the Ravens didn't do it, but this could help Lamar.
This could definitely help Lamar. I'm concerned for Lamar because I don't know if anybody's going to do it, and I think he's going to end up being unhappy and stuck with the Ravens. So it's a really interesting situation. There's a lot of like weird quarterback drama going around in the NFL. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, that situation's still not done yet. This stuff with Lamar Jackson. It's just like a very interesting time to be a quarterback in the NFL.
Well, don't feel too sorry for Lamar, Rachel. He'll still make $32 million for the Ravens next year. So easy with our sympathies for a guy making $32 million. But I mean, what's the guaranteed money now for Jalen Hurts? I mean, it's crazy guaranteed money. Well over $100 million guaranteed. Yeah. I mean, Jake maybe can help us out. I thought the whole deal was for $177, and the guaranteed money is what? 111, 120, 130. I'm not sure. It's a lot. And I did read that he'll basically cash in over $50 million this year.
Yeah, it's 179 guaranteed too. So yeah, that's.
I'm sorry. My bad. Right. My bad. It's 179 guaranteed. Sorry. The deal is for 255.
Yep.
179 guaranteed. Wow, man.
Yep.
Yeah, good for him. That's wild. That's it, man. Rachel, that's the price of quarterbacks. That's the way the league's going. The Commanders just sold for $6 billion, and they stink. The Broncos sold for $4.65 billion. Quarterbacks are making more than $50 million a year. Yep. So the question when it comes to quarterbacks, Rachel, is do you have a $50 million quarterback, or does he project to be a $50 million quarterback? And if the answer is no to those two questions, you got to move on.
Oh, man. I know. It just, the whole situation, honestly, D-Mac, it stresses me out. So I kind of want to save it for another another day, because it's just so much drama. It's so much drama. And
Russ could not help himself with social media. Here is Sean Payton asking for everybody to be anonymous donors. Here he is just clamping down the media. The message is clear. Just calm down on all that stuff. And Russell Wilson is putting videos of his kids out there, like catching footballs and working out with them. It's like, this dude cannot help himself. I mean, listen, I got no problems with you shooting some videos and sending them to grandma and grandpa and whatever. But I mean, why are you posting pictures and videos of your kids where you have millions of followers. I mean, why, Rachel? Why? You don't need to do it. And it's another subtle, like, look at me moment. Like, yeah, it's my kid, but look at me. Look at my workout. Look at my stuff. Look at, look at what I'm doing. And it's just so bizarrely passive aggressive. Like, Rachel, this dude can't help himself with this crap. Just stop. Stop. There's no need for celebrities, Rachel. I'll tell you this, okay? There's no need for celebrities to ever put their kids out on social media with videos and pictures. Period. The end. Let them be kids. Stop it. We don't need to see, oh, we got 1 million views for you catching a football. Stop it. They're kids. Let them be kids. And understand there's a difference between Russell Wilson doing it and, Joe Schmo, who's proud of his kid hitting a double in 10-year-old youth baseball. There's a gargantuan difference between the two.
I get your point. As somebody who records legitimately a majority of her life, I can also see the point of marketing.
Rachel, you're not a world famous celebrity with millions of followers with children. If you want to do that for yourself, fine. Now they had to calm down because Sean Payton told them to basically shut up. So the only way to do it is kind of off to the side somehow. Like Jake Heaps shows a picture. Russell Wilson does a video of his kids, because, Sean Payton has just cut all that stuff off. But just stop. Just stop, period. Stop it. You don't need any of it, dude. I mean, like, golly, man, we want to root for you. Everybody's got your back. But, just stop it, man. You don't need to do it. And you know what? More seriously, your kids don't need it, okay? Your kids do not need it. They do not need to be celebrities. They're freaking kids. Let them be kids.
I agree with that part. Let them be kids. Real quick, because I missed it earlier when we were talking about the Nuggets, there was one thing that kind of stood out to me a little bit when it came to the press conference that we heard. So I want to bring in Jake for this talk too, because it kind of went under the radar, but it definitely did perk up my ear. Jamal Murray walked into the press conference. He had a bag of ice on his hand, and he called it manageable when it came to his finger. Manageable, it doesn't make it sound horrible, I will say that, but it also doesn't make me think, okay, things are going to be good as we're getting all these minutes almost every other night. So I'm just a little bit on the, manageable, let's not allow this to get any worse, but how at the exact same time can you stop it? Jake, how do you feel about the term manageable?
Well, it's not how I feel about manageable. It's how I feel about what Jamal told me at practice this week. Jamal told me that this injury is going to be affecting him the entire playoffs. Every single time he dribbles a basketball, every single time he shoots a basketball, every time a basketball touches his hand, every time someone makes contact with his hand, it's going to be painful. Michael Malone said if there's anyone on our team who can play through pain, it's Jamal Murray. He's done so in the past. He'll do so again in the future. And it's because he's a tough guy. And Jamal is a really tough guy. So is this going to be affecting him? 100%. In a weird way, can this actually maybe help the Nuggets? Yes, because if Jamal Murray's actually focused on his hand hurting, he's not going to be worried about his knee. And what I saw last night in the game was a Jamal Murray who was not worried about his legs as he got taken out twice from behind and fell on the floor. It was a Jamal Murray going to the hole, making plays, not being afraid to dish, having the best true point guard game of his career, maybe, by the way. Michael Porter Jr. said so of himself. And he's maybe in his head about his hand, but he's not in his head about the legs. And he was awesome last night. He really was. And he didn't shoot that efficiently, but the layups were there. So he obviously has touch. So yeah, manageable, not the best word in the world, but it's better than Jamal Murray's not playing. And those are the situations right now. It's one or the other.
Whew. Well, that's scary. D-Mac?
I hope it was the jitters. Because the jitters make sense. If he had a poor shooting night because of his thumb, that's concerning. Now, he did do better as the game went on, and he did drive the basket and had some really nice finishes. So let's hope it's jitters. He said that, and I'll roll with it. But if he's hurt, that is concerning. That is concerning. Now, that being said, there's a lot of other great options for the Nuggets. If he's not feeling it, specifically Michael Porter Jr. So there's no big deal if you can get the ball in Michael Porter Jr.'s hands. And if you didn't notice, it was a combination of Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., later in that game that really kind of got things going. Everything felt different, though, last night because the defense was so great. So it almost didn't even matter what you were doing offensively. So this is a kind of a wait-and-see sort of moment. Again, another small red flag.
Mm-hmm.
But, listen, you just got to battle through it at this point. If you're not feeling it, take it to the hoop. Like Jamal said, play better defense. I mean, there's other ways to win. And at the end of the day, if you get tremendous defensive buy-in, and I think Jamal Murray is capable of playing great defense, then you can sort of overcome perhaps, poor shooting.
Can I ask you guys this, by the way, because we haven't really done this? Who do you think was the best player in the game last night? I've got my pick. I'm curious who you guys think was the best player for the Denver Nuggets last night, because, you had 6 guys score over 13 points. It was really just a team effort, but who was the best?
My opinion, I think MPJ played an absolute stellar game because he was both defensively and offensively just incredible. Like, the ball got in his hands and you were like, all right, here we go. Boom, raining threes. And defensively, I feel like he's no longer a liability when it comes to this team. So my vote is MPJ.
It's a bit of a trick question because there's the best and then there's the most important for the team to play the way they did.
True.
The best is a little iffy. You could probably go a few different players. But KCP being able to shoot the 3 and play his defense, that had been missing. So I'll say the contributions you got from KCP made a gargantuan difference that wasn't around. By the way, I did, by accident, come upon Aaron Gordon Saturday shooting free throws on the arena floor while everybody else was up at the training center upstairs. And, he's got to work that out, like the free throws and that sort of thing. He got in foul trouble, but just to let people know, he's concerned about it. He's working on it. It's not nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, to answer your question, KCP, with the caveat that I think it's more important what he did rather than the best player. I'll say this, the best player always, period, is Nikola Jokic. I don't care what the scenario is. He is always the best. He could get 0-0-0-0 for 30 minutes, and I would still say he's the best player. But KCP's contribution was significant.
Yeah, I didn't want to get out of here without saying Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's name because I thought he was the best player last night. I thought he's fantastic. And by the way, and I don't mean to just destroy the show here at the end, D-Mac, you said earlier in the show, sending a message. Malone had those guys, the starters, out to send a message. I've got a little thing that happened yesterday that you guys didn't talk about that I've been around for. So Tim Conley, the former president of basketball operations for the Denver Nuggets and now the president of basketball operations for the Minnesota Timberwolves, spoke to the media yesterday impromptu after Timberwolves shoot around. And it was basically just with the Denver media, okay? This is happening on the main arena floor at Ball Arena. And it's happening at the exact same time that the Nuggets start to open up their facility upstairs to the media. So when the Nuggets opened up hey, here's Malone at shoot around, here's KCP, talk to whoever you want, it's 12 hours before the game, nobody in the media was there because they were all talking to their former boss, Tim Conley. So when everyone showed up, the Nuggets were a little ticked off that no one was there. So you want to talk about sending a message. Michael Malone and Chris Finch. Chris Finch, a former assistant coach for the Nuggets. Chris Finch and Michael Malone went at it a little bit. I don't think the message was to be sent to Nikola Jokic. I don't think the message was being sent to Jamal Murray. I think the message was being sent to the Minnesota Timberwolves because since that Game 82, all the way back years ago, and all the things that have happened with the people changing jobs between these franchises, the Nuggets have wanted to kick the Wolves' butt. And guess what Chris Finch said yesterday after the game? They kicked our butt.
Good story, Jake. I heard that.
Very, very good, Jake, and that's an excellent way to end the show, especially because we're hoping for another butt-kicking come tomorrow night with the Avalanche, and then again Wednesday night. We'll have everything you need to know about both of those teams, denversports.com. As always, keep you guys updated, and we'll be back tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. for another episode of Coffee Break. Have a wonderful Monday, everybody. Get some rest today, because the rest of the week is going to be crazy. We'll see you guys then. Bye.